Hello everybody, Paul here at Warlord Games, and today we're going to show you how to paint up a British 8th Army figure. Painting this guy from the Commonwealth 8th Army box here today. We've constructed him and based it, and we've primed it with a white undercoat. And today we're going to be using paints from Army Painter. The first colour we're going to use is Desert Yellow. And the brush we're going to use is, again, an Army Painter brush. This one is the character brush. I'll use a couple of different brushes, but most of them will be the character brush, as you'll see. Now I'm going to use a palette here, which is just a plastic lid. Does the job perfectly well, and usually, unless I specify otherwise, the paint will be watered down. And this particular bottle, I don't add water to it because water's already been added to the bottle and it's quite a thin paint. So for most of these we will be doing 2 coats, and in the Desert Yellow I'm going to paint the base and I'm going to paint his helmet. So you'll see me just starting off doing that, showing you where I'm going to be placing the colour. And I start off by placing one thin coat of the watered down paint, and then I'll go back over it with a second coat, and I think sometimes I used 3 coats for this particular one. Here it is finished. Now the next colour we're going to use is Skeleton Bone, and that's going to mainly be for the uniform, and again we're using the regiment brush. So we get the Skeleton Bone, just add a wee bit to the palette, and again I'm going to water this down a little bit before I start to apply it to the model. That's me adding a bit of water in there, just watering it down, get it to the right consistency so it flows into all the crevices without obscuring any of the details. And as you can see, just layering it on the uniform and just doing a nice thin coat. I'm just showing you there the different parts, and yeah, we just go all over the uniform with that, and then I come back and I do 2 coats of it. As you can see here, 2 thin coats gives us a nice opaque base layer. Before we roll on to the next colour, we're going to be using the regiment brush yet again. And this colour, the next one we go for, is going to be the tanned flesh. So we're going to go on and do legs, arms and face with this. We've watered that down a little bit. And again, I do 2 or 3 fine coats. I'm going to indicate where I'm putting this colour. So we're going to do it on the arms. Going fairly careful because we're doing, and the legs there, and I'll come and do the face. Because we're doing blocking in the colours here, we're a little bit careful, but you don't have to be too careful. We did, as I said, we did 3 layers on that one because it was the white shone through quite a bit. Again, using the regiment brush for the next colour, which is Army Green from Army Painter, and this colour is going to be used mainly on the socks, if memory serves me right. Once we get some out the bottle there, again I'll water down this colour with just a bit of water to allow a better coverage. If you put the paint on too thick, it sometimes can be difficult to get it to spread quite as evenly and quite as quickly as you want it to. But it does mean that you need to do 2 coats quite often, which actually gives you a better paint job. The coats go on thinner, you obscure less detail, and it's much smoother. It doesn't show up brush marks so easily. Yes, I'm going to do the canteen bottle in this colour as well. Not necessarily sticking to historical colours, trying to keep it looking realistic. And on we go to the next stage. Once again, we're going to be using the regiment brush, and the next colour we're going to use is going to be Necrotic Flesh, which is basically going to be the colour I'm going to use for all the webbing on this model. So yet again, it's getting to be a bit repetitive. Water down this colour, adding a bit of water to it. I'll mix it in just a moment, as you can see there. And then we'll show you what parts of the model I'm going to apply this colour to. Well, I will do in just a second. Here we go. So we are going to apply it to the strap on his helmet. We will apply it to the strap on the gun, and we will apply it to the webbing, so the ammo pouch is there, the belt and the backpack. I've already started a bit there. I must have come back and redone that bit of the video. Must have been a disturbance on the sound when I did it first time. And it's also going to go on the gaiters. There we go, smooth it on. It's quite thin. Only took 2 coats for this one. Didn't take terribly long to do. And in a second or two we'll show you what it looked like when we'd finished that particular bit. Oh, we also did the webbing on the water canteen as well, as you can see me putting on there. Excellent. Just being a wee bit careful there. And there it is, finished. That's all done. Now this is all going to come together when we get to the stage of putting the washes on. So it all looks a bit flat at the moment, but you'll see when we get to that stage how that works out. Next we're going to do the wood parts on this model using this wood brown. That actually comes from the Warlord Games paint set. But I quite like the colour. Again, it's still made by Army Painter, just badged up for Warlord Games. This paint was a bit thick actually, and once you watered it down it became quite opaque, so I had to do 3 coats of this one, and this is going to be applied mainly to the rifle. You'll see me putting it on there. Yep, just trying to be a wee bit careful, but if you have it watered down enough, paint will flow and allow it to go where you want with just a gentle nudge. But I did need to come back and go over that 3 times, and then I'm going to paint the scabbard of the bayonet with that brown colour as well, to replicate a kind of leathery colour. I think in actual fact they were probably black, but yeah, we'll let it roll. We're trying to get models on the road here, and then I'll come and use it for... oh no, I think that's the only thing I use it for. We'll find out in a moment. Still sticking with regiment brush. Still, as you can see, we're moving on to pitch black. Again, this colour from a Warlord paint set, but again it's still Army Painter. So with this colour, once we get it watered down, we are going to use it on the model's boots. I'm adding a wee bit of water there. You can see me watering it down. All the colours and nice rotation on that palette there. Tidier than my usual palette. I splashed out on a new palette so it didn't look too messy for this. So mixing in the colour, I'm painting all the parts that I'm going to do with metallics. So I'm doing the bayonet here. I will likely come on next and do the parts of the gun that I'm going to do with metallics, and we'll do his, as I said, his boots or his shoes with this. So as you can see, just watching me doing the bits that I'm going over in metallics, the plate at the butt of the gun, and then just being a wee bit careful coming in to do the shoes. You do need to be a little bit careful here. You don't want that paint going all over the base if you can help it, and it is quite awkward to do it, but we get there. And then we'll come back. There we go. We're showing you how it's looking when it's all finished. It's starting to come together. Only a few bits to go now before we come on to the wash phase. We're going to stick with the good old regiment brush. So guys, following along, why not comment below, let us know what models you're working on just now, and maybe put in a wee picture so that we can see how your progress is going. And next colour here we're going to use is Monster Brown. This colour you'll see we're going to do for his bedroll that's in his backpack. Same old, same old. We are going to add a bit of water so it's watered down, and I do a couple of coats of this on the bedroll in his pack. You can see it all finished there, just turning around so you get a good look. And then sticking with the regiment brush from Army Painter, we're moving on to do our metallics now. We're putting out gunmetal from Army Painter. I'll have changed water for this because we don't want metal flakes ending up in our clean water and possibly contaminating other colours. So we're going to be a wee bit sparing with this. We're going to do it on the metal parts, so the bayonet, the butt and the shield of the bayonet there, any of the metal parts on the gun, you can't quite see it's out of shot, but the magazine, trigger, the bolt, etc., and the back plate, you can see it there, all finished, starting to look half decent. Sticking with the regiment brush always surprises me, and we're going to go on to weapon bronze for a little bit of detailing. It always surprising me, I'm never impressed with my models when they're at this stage in painting. It's not until I really get the washes done that I feel they start to come alive a little bit. There's only going to be odd bits, and it's really just to bring out some detailing. This isn't strictly speaking historical either, but we're going to go where the buckles are on that rifle strap. So we do all the sort of buckles and fittings on the rifle strap. We'll do some of the buttons and the buckles on the webbing, so on the ammo pouches, the chin strap, and his backpack. See me going in there, just being gentle, trying not to splodge it about too much. I'll do the bottom of the scabbard there for the bayonet where it gets a lot of wear. There's usually a metal fitting there, and just looking for anywhere else where it just adds a little bit of detail when people are looking at them. Doing the buckles on those ammo pouches now. So this is quite detailed. Still doing it with the regiment brush though. Some people would prefer to do it with a smaller one. Adding the wee buckles that are on the gaiters. And you can see there how we've got it all finished up. So, still sticking with that regiment brush. I'm not wanting to change it, am I, lads? But I find the regiment brush does most of what we're wanting to do. I'm now going to use strong tone, and I'm going to thin it out a little bit with with wash medium from Army Painter, just to allow it to flow a wee bit better and not be quite so dark. When I'm doing if I'm doing these for tabletop, this is how I'll do it. If I'm going to put more detail on a model, I'll use a stronger wash to get deeper shadows. Because I'm going to be spending more time, I can layer up a wee bit better. But for tabletop standard, this will do fine. Then I'm going to add some of that wash to the base to give it a little bit of texture and depth. Trying to make sure we don't get any bubbles, teasing those out if we get any, and giving it a good coverage onto the base there. Plenty on the brush. And doing it onto the uniform and on the backpack, anything that's webbing. You can see me there. We will apply it also to the socks and the gaiters. Doesn't matter if we go over onto the shoes, and we're doing it to the helmet and to the wooden parts of the rifle. As you can see there, trying to stay away from the flesh. So the next thing we're going to be doing, I suspect, is we're going to be putting on the wash to the flesh areas. The shoe, we're going to be using the old regiment brush yet again. Very popular brush for this part of the exercise. And there we go, the flesh wash from Army Painter. Just using that straight out of the bottle. We're not going to tone that down at all. We're just going to apply it to all the flesh areas. So you'll see me on the arms, the face, and the legs. I'm also going to put it on to the parts that we've used the brass colour. So spreading it on trying not to overbrush it onto any of the other parts of the miniature, although it won't affect it too much, but trying to keep it away from the other bits. Being quite heavy with this particular wash, so not only not watering it down or thinning it with wash medium, I'm applying it quite thickly to the flesh areas, but just trying to catch the brassy areas with a little touch, just to calm them down a bit. And here we have it. Finished with the washes, looking pretty darn good. And we're doing the regiment brush again, and we're going to do the dark tone this time. So we're just going to put some into the dish. There it goes. Getting pretty used to this by now, I would have thought. Add a little bit of water in there, just watering it out as usual. And we're going to be applying this to all the metallic areas that we've got and to any of the black areas. So we're just going to do it over the metallics and any of the areas we want black. Just again to give it a wee depth on shadow, make things stand out a little better. Too much dark tone on the actual base, but just doing the shoes to finish them off there. So we're getting close to the finish. We'll probably turn our attention to the base now, and for this we are going to use a small dry brush, a different brush. Hey! And we're going to use skeleton bone, the same colour we used for the uniform, but this time we're going to use it on the base to highlight the basing. I've just done a gravel base on this one. So normal dry brushing technique, putting the colour on the brush and then rubbing most of it off. I'm just going to test it on my nail there to see if there's too much on the brush or not. I think it's about right, and we'll just go ahead and dry brush the base. Just trying to bring out the highlighting to add a little bit of interest to the base there. And once we've got it finished, the base looks like that. Brings it up a little bit. We're getting pretty close to finishing now, so the last bit really is to put a tuft or two for these tabletop standard. Guys, these are self-sticking tufts, which I quite like. They need to be trimmed up a bit. They are a bit bushy and a bit untidy, but you get a pretty good idea of what the finished tabletop standard model looks like now. Hopefully you'll like this too. I hope you enjoyed that. If you'd like to see how we take that infantry model and make him a little more special, put him up to the next stage, drop us a wee comment below and perhaps we'll just post that video for you too. In the meantime, if you want to buy your British 8th Army minis, why not make your way to Warlord's store right now?